Okay, so today we have a mixer in here for repair. It has noisy controls when they try to adjust the volume. It makes a heck of a racket, and 4 of these are actually worn out, but I'm going to replace all 8 of them. So let's have a look what we can find inside. Alright, that removes the top screws. Now I'm going to stick these little screws in a little magnetic tray here so I don't lose them. Because you know what things are like. Everything wants to fall on the floor and then it rolls into the 5th dimension and you never find them again. Okay, so let's have a look what we have here. Let's remove these knobs. Right. Make sure that these little LEDs stay in place. There's some nuts there to hold them down. But let's have a look if we need to take the whole PCB out or not. Some more screws. Well, let's take the front cover off for good measure here. The power supply's got a bunch of big capacitors on there, so I will use this capacitor discharge pen just in case. I don't expect there to be much there, but they were on only about an hour or so ago. Okay, so there's no potential there, so that's good. Better safe than sorry, you know how they say. Okay, now, so these nuts over here are recessed, and I had to get a special wrench for those. So I'm going to try and remove all of those. Can come off now. There we go. That's better. Now, what we have is I've got my solar pot here, and we are going to be tinning these little wires in there. It'll save us from, it'll make it a lot easier to solder. But the first thing to do now is to remove these controls, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try this little solder sucker here and see if I can't remove as much of the solder as possible. So what we have here is a fade bit that will actually, I can heat all 3 pins at the same time. And then turn it up a little bit more. That should probably do it. One. Flux. I've got 2 different kinds of flux. This is the flux that I use for soldering, but this ordinary rosin core flux is what I will use for putting some solder on these little legs of these controls. So you get a little bit of flux on these middle pins here, and okay, now all the holes are nicely cleared out. One, the new controls, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Dip them in that little bit of. Now I'm going to clear off the dross from here. And look at that, nicely tinned. I guess you can't see it too well on the camera, but perfect. Flux. Strictly speaking, we shouldn't need it, but this special flux here actually makes sure that you get nice shiny. Alright. And then my airplane never suck up any smoke that we produced. Okay, 2 more to go. More to go. Solder the middle pin, and I make sure control is fully pushed in, and then it'll stay there, and then I can pick. I think so far so good. Now, isopropyl alcohol. The extra flux. Right. Be able to put this back on. Okay, so now we can put all these screws back. I won't tighten them up too tight yet, because no doubt we'll need a little bit of movement. Okay, and then there's these guys here. And then there's the front screws. Alright, let's have a look if everything is looking good here. Yes. That's better. These little things have got little tangs on them, and they got to go into the holes. So that's good. They weren't very tight, so I don't think that they need to be all that tight. I think I'm just about doing it by hand with this little socket over here is probably good enough. Okay. Check that the little LEDs are still plugged in. Okay. Everything looks good. Okay, I think we are in business. Everything looks good, so I think that's it for today. Let's replace those 8 controls. They were just totally worn out. When they adjusted the volume, it made a terrible record because, you know, these things are connected to the microphone, so any little bit of noise on there gets amplified a great deal. So there we go. That's it for today. Here's another good deed, and I'll see you guys later.